The year in high school athletics this year for me, covering games for the Montgomery Advertiser. Right now, I'm going to give you my top 5 games from the year 2014 to 2015. Number 5, I'm going to go with playoff soccer, St. James and ACA. This is a back and forth affair. St. James coming in as the home team. They actually went down 1-0 to ACA, came back to tie it up. Went down 2-1, came back to tie it up. And then it went into extra time. Nobody scored. It would go to penalty kicks. J.J. Williams, who had scored both goals in overtime, had scored both goals in regulation, comes back, goes in as goalkeeper, makes a big save, and then, of course, ACA takes a 3-2 win in the penalty shootout as St. James' final attempt goes begging, hits the goal post. It was a very tough scene to go to the St. James locker room and interview the coach after the game, because it was a very sad scene for them. And the young man who tried the kick, missed the kick, really was dejected and really thought he had cost his team the ball game. But it was really a great game to watch. And penalty kicks, always a tough way to lose a game. Now, number 4, I'm going to go with Prattville at Jeff Davis. This was a wild football game in October. Really, Jeff Davis was really starting to get some notice around the city for how well they had played throughout the year. So that up to that point, of course, Prattville was trying to establish themselves in Class 6A. Well, of course, they had a Class 7A, excuse me. They had a back and forth battle. Prattville actually took the 21-0 lead. Jeff Davis came back, made it a 21-20 game. And then Prattville scored 21 straight points again before Jeff Davis got a kickoff return for a touchdown and a touchdown reception with about 4 minutes left. And Prattville came in to run the clock out. But I picked this game because, unlike last year, I really didn't have any great football games, unlike the previous year that I had. And this was the best game that I did as far as football games, going back and forth. A lot of the games that I had this year on the football field were blowouts. Now, number 3, we're going to go with another soccer game, another first-round game, but this time it's the girls, Class 1A through 3A, and it's Trinity and Brew Tech. Now, this game was very wild because it took 2 days to play. Trinity Wildcats and Brew Tech, and the first half was scoreless, and then the rain came and the lightning came. They tried to restart the game after halftime, and the lightning would not let it. 4 times lightning had struck while they were trying to wait 30 minutes in between lightning strikes. It continued to lightning and thunder outside, so they postponed the game until the following Monday, and they finally got to play the second half. Nobody scored. It ended up going to extra time. Nobody scored, and then finally it went to penalty kicks. Now, once it got to penalty kicks, Trinity had a 6-5 lead against Brew Tech. Trinity was the team taking the last shot. Once Alexandra Johnson missed her penalty kick for Brew Tech, that should have ended it, but actually the referees did not know exactly the rules of the shootout and how they were supposed to be played after the first 5 kickers from each team went. So they ended up having to call the district official to find out what they were supposed to do. They ended up finally calling the game and finally calling Trinity the winner at 6-5. It was a very controversial situation, of course, when you have something like this and when it's supposed to be a shootout. You really don't know how it's supposed to go after the first 5 kickers that kicked on each team. But they finally figured it out. It was the right call. It ended up being 6-5. Now, number 2 on my list is probably one of the most intense games I have seen on any level in any sport. It was the Class 6A Area 4 Girls Basketball Championship game between Carver and Wetumpka. Now, Carver was the road team in this game, but their head coach, Adria Harris, thought that she had the best team in the area. Well, this game was back and forth. It was a very intense ball game. Carver actually trailed by 3 with about 4 minutes left. Then Alea Johnson took over, scoring 15 of her 17 points in the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter and overtime, she had back-to-back threes to give Carver a 64-61 lead. Wetumpka came back with a couple free throws and then Zamoria Clark had a layup with about 16 seconds left to give Wetumpka a 1-point lead. Demisha Bell ties the game with a free throw for Carver. They go into overtime. Alea Johnson hits a three. It ends up being the game-winning shot as Carver would go on to win 79-72. But the thing I remember the most about this was how intense both teams were, how intense the atmosphere was, because you had two local teams going at it. It was really one of the best games and one of the most intense games that I got to cover this year. And then number one, the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star football game. Alabama had come in winning 7 straight over Mississippi, and it took really a miracle for them to get their 8th straight win. Mississippi actually scored 28 of the first 38 points in the game. They were up 28-10. Alabama stormed back. They were able to tie the game on a safety at 30, and then Mississippi tied the game at 30 on a safety. And then, as time expired, Alabama's Justin Johnson catches a 30-yard touchdown pass. As time expired, I was just a few feet away from this play, and unfortunately, I couldn't believe I didn't get this on video. But it was a great game. It was 36-30, one of the wildest games I've seen, and it was an all-star game, so that made it even better. You had the best players from Alabama against the best players from Mississippi, and the game was just unbelievable. So those are my top 5 games of the high school season. I tried to do this video earlier, but the sound didn't work out right, so I'm glad I got to redo it. Those are my games. Hopefully the 2015-2016 season is just as good.